Welcome back to Face the Nation. I'm John Dickerson. President Obama appeared in the cabinet room this morning and spoke about the Iranian nuclear deal implementation and the prisoner exchange.
The United States has never been afraid to pursue diplomacy with our adversaries. And as president, I decided that a strong, confident America could advance our national security by engaging directly with the Iranian government.
Now we want to go to Republican presidential candidate and governor John Kasich, who joins us now from Columbus, Ohio. Governor, you've talked about the importance of diplomacy. So how do you evaluate this recent release of prisoners and in addition, the 10 sailors who were released earlier this week?
Well, John, you know, it's sort of funny. I woke up this morning, and it's interesting that I would be thinking about the Iran deal as I was getting ready to come over here, and the Iran nuclear deal. And I'm sort of sick to my stomach about it because what's going to happen is Iran's going to get a ton of money. And this money they can use to spread a lot of trouble in the Middle East. In fact, there have been reports from some other Arab countries that they're actually more worried about the economic gains of Iran than they are what they think is the potential development of a weapon. I mean, I've heard this from various people. Look, I just think it was a terrible deal, what they did there. And in terms of the release, I'm glad these people are out, but you know, they were there on trumped up charges. I mean, you know, that reporter who was held there for a very long time, who every journalist in America said, was falsely taken. They trump up charges, and it's a bad situation. We're glad they're out, but excuse me, we don't want to have the Iranians just grabbing people and then trying to get their own people out. But we ought to focus now on this Iran deal. And John, my sense is, if I were president today, would be meeting with every one of our allies around the world and saying, we're going to monitor this deal, and if they violate one cross T or one dotted I, we need to slap the sanctions back on. What I'm concerned about is if they violate the deal, you know, money's going to talk, and some of these countries are going to continue to just move forward and excuse Iran, and that's just simply not a good development, and it's a bad deal, period, end of story.
And so very briefly, before we move on, you don't think that this diplomacy, the release here, is a beneficial result of that deal and all the negotiations that were put in? That's the argument that Secretary Kerry is making.
Well, look, I mean, the fact that they're communicating, and these folks got released, I guess you could make an argument like that. But let's go back to the reporter who was arrested under trumped-up charges. I mean, remember, I was down at that White House Correspondents' Dinner where every single speaker called on the president and Iran to just get that gentleman out of there, and they have. But, I mean, the guy it was no business being held. So where's the great victory here, John? Right. The great victory is for the families. I mean, I'm thrilled for the families that their relatives have been released. But, I mean, to say this was some great thing, I just think is overstating it by a long shot.
Let's talk about politics. You're moving up in New Hampshire. Are you going to win?
Well, look, I got 3 endorsements here within the last 24 hours of 3 significant newspapers in New Hampshire. I'm running second in 3 out of 4 polls, and you know, I want to be a story. I just got to have John Dickerson talking about me the day after the primary. And if that happens, then people are going to finally begin to hear me. You know, right now, I'm low in the national polls. People don't know me. But, you know, we're doing okay, and we're doing really, really well in New Hampshire. And we got, I mean, there's no question, the greatest ground game in that state of any campaign, and maybe one of the greatest ground games they've seen in modern political times. Our people are everywhere. It's impressive.
The National Review, there's an article saying you should maybe be Donald Trump's vice presidential pick. What's that a sign of in terms of you're in the conversation, but they think you should be his vice president?
Obviously, people who have too much time on their hands didn't have anything else to write about.
You're doing well in New Hampshire. Do you have the structure to be able to continue on, long slog after New Hampshire?
Well, we have people on the ground in South Carolina. We got people on the ground in Nevada. Trent Lott in Mississippi is my chairman. Greg Harper, the congressman. We got the best organization in Mississippi. I've got the governor in Alabama, and we're doing well in other southern states. We're on the ballot now in over 30 states. And John, then at some point it's going to go to Illinois, Michigan, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Who do you think is going to win there? So yeah, I mean, we will move forward. And look, people didn't think I was going to get in. They didn't think I'd make the debates. They didn't think I'd make the money. And look at what's happened. So we're like the little engine that can. So keep an eye on us. And, If we come out of New Hampshire as a story, I'm just going to tell you, John, I believe I'll be the nominee.
I want to ask you about something Governor Nikki Haley of South Carolina, we were just talking about that state, in her response to the State of the Union. She said, "Today we live in a time of threats like few others in recent memory. During anxious times, it can be tempting to follow the siren call of the angriest voices. We must resist that temptation." What was your reaction to that?
Loved it. Loved her comments. You know, the other thing is, John, I don't know if you notice the debates. You know, I travel around and people say, you know, you're the adult, you're the one that makes sense, you're the one with the experience. How do we get you more attention? How do we get you more time? Look, in this campaign, I'm very proud of it. And I'm proud of it because we're raising the bar. You know, what happens today in American politics is that if you don't yell or say something really extreme, the media ignores you. So I said one little funny thing about Bernie Sanders. I said, well, you know, Bernie's the nominee. We'll win all 50 states. That got more attention than everything else I said in the debate. But you know what? At the end, the people themselves, they do good analysis. That's why we're rising in New Hampshire.
All right.
And that's why we're going to do so well.
Okay, Senator Kasich, the little engine. We'll see you at the depot. Thanks very much.
Governor, stop downgrading me.
Sorry, Governor. I apologize. I got senators coming and going over here. Thanks, Governor. We've got a lot more coming up.
I might start talking about Bob Schieffer if you keep it up, Dickerson.
All right, Governor. Stay with us.
We'll see ya.